Oh, that was lovely. That was lovely indeed.
Nice to see you have arisen from the dead.
Rest in peace. We're back with Tim Curry. And Tim, I know you're excited about Over the Top on ABC.
I am.
You're working with Annie Potts. How's that going?
Well, it's going great. I mean, it's funny. Annie and I met on a movie about 10 or 11 years ago in Arkansas. And we were playing a televangelist.
Where?
Arkansas, baby.
Okay, I thought I heard that.
Exactly. That was very impressive.
I was playing the Reverend Ray, who was a televangelist, and she was playing my wife, Darla.
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 You do that well.
I do. And it was a 6-day schedule, you know. It was pretty exhausting. And we were in a place called Eureka Springs, Arkansas, which is a very beautiful town. And Sundays were the only day that we had off. And we used to borrow this Buick. It's a big old blue Buick. And just tool around the country, you know. And we went fishing on Bear Lake. And we used to cook up a storm in this hotel. We borrowed a toaster oven from the local casting lady. Mm-hmm. And so we'd grill the bass that we caught in the lake in the toaster oven, and then we'd make asparagus in the Mr. Coffee.
You what?
You
we had great dinners in this
the
hotel.
Toaster, and you
asparagus in the Mr.
Coffee.
Yeah, and Annie used to do chicken wings too. She used to make the hot sauce in the Mr. Coffee machine.
Goodness.
We ate very well in Arkansas.
So what do? You just cast your neighbors? Is that how it works?
Well, no. I mean, it's funny because we talked then about doing a show together. She was doing Designing Women then. And then about 2 years ago, she started preparing a show of her own. And I actually wasn't available to do it then. And anyway, she sort of junked it because she did Dangerous Minds. And then I've been developing this show for about a year, and I always hoped that she'd be able to do it. But she was doing Dangerous Minds, and then they canceled it, I think, 3 days before the pilot, and we just went.
Said, we want her because, as you guys may or may not know, they're next-door neighbors.
Yeah, they live next door to each other.
That's why I asked if you just go and cast your neighbors. And
we're kind of a sitcom in ourselves, really. In fact, we're planning to put a gate, you know, in the fence.
Right.
So we can really kind of be Ozzie and Harriet then.
So what would be the
Fred and Arthel.
What would be the secret to your chemistry? I mean, the two of you working together, knowing each other.
She makes me laugh so much.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's one of the funnier women on the planet, I think, but also one of the kindest. She takes friendship very seriously. And when I moved here about 9 years ago, and I moved to California at the end of a very long tour, and I was touring in Me and My Girl, the musical. I toured it all over the States, and I was completely fried when I got off the road. And she really kind of put my house together. I mean,
that's very nice.
she'd just been doing a house in Glendale, and she sent over the carpenter and the painter and the day I moved in, she came over with this sort of dreadful patio set. And I mean, I didn't have anything. I literally didn't have anything to sit on or, and we're just great buds, but she does make me laugh, and I think that's more than anything what the relationship is.
That's good. That's very good. And then, Tim, you know, you mentioned the play you were on the road doing. Your first play, though, Hair, when you took it all off, you were nude. Now, was that just like a shock for you, and then for your parents to come and see you just nude like that?
Well, how nude were you? I mean, you were nude.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, it was a big deal at the time because it had never happened before, you know? But it was so badly lit. I mean, you'd have to kind of peer to see really what was going on.
At least that's what you thought.
Well. No, that's what I knew.
Oh, okay.
No, it was a sort of cool thing to do. I mean, you know, it's something that you'd perhaps be more eager to do at 22 than I would be now, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Little bravery.
But in England, you know, they have those, I don't know whether they have them in American theatres. I don't think they have them on Broadway, but in the West End in London, they have these little opera glasses, little sort of plastic opera glasses. They're in a little metal trap on the back of the seat in front of you, and you put in sixpence, or it's probably, you know, a pound now.
Right. Oh.
And it springs open, and you can take out the opera glasses, and just before the nude scene, you'd hear this bing, 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 all over the theatre.
Everybody wants to see. Let's get the close-up.
It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's now, it's now.
And then, I mean, and your parents, they were okay with that?
My mother thought it was hysterical. I actually put her in a box when she came to see, sort of a raised-up box.
Oh.
And I rather carefully put her in this box where Berger, who was the sort of lead boy, who wore a kind of leather loincloth and not very much else, swung from a rope onto the stage. And I'll always remember her face as he came into the box and grabbed this rope, and she just sort of went green and pale. But as far as the new scene was concerned, she just said, I didn't understand what all the fuss was about, darling, but it is extraordinary. I mean, we always used to lock the bathroom door so firmly.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, did you spend some time in rock and roll as well? I mean, you
I did.
were performing, yeah? And what happened?
I did. Well, you know, when I started as in the showbiz, I wasn't really sure whether I wanted to be a singer or an actor. And one of the reasons that I did hair was, A, because I managed to get the job. I taught my way into it. But it was also, in a sense, to kind of postpone the decision whether to be a singer or an actor. And several people from the show got record contracts and were very unhappy. Because, you know, they were kids, and in those days, it was very difficult to get any kind of control over what the material that you recorded.
Oh, absolutely, right.
It's pretty much standard now for people to have a lot more control over the material that they use. But then they could just tell you what to sing, and you know, a few of them made some very embarrassing records. So I kind of put it on the back burner until I had, you know, enough power to be able to do that. And I guess, you know, after Rocky took off, I got a record deal, and I made about 3 albums at the end of the 70s, the beginning of the 80s. And I lived in New York, and I, you know, had a band who were all sort of studio musicians, and it was pretty swell. I just didn't want to be 40 and say I could have made records.
Right, I wish
I could have gone on the road,
yeah.
you know, I could have been a singer.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda, that kind
So
of
I
thing.
got to do it, and that's great. I think it's, you know, every kid's dream.
And then there were groupies,
There were, yes.
you know? The dream gets better. The groupies appear.
Yeah, and I was still young enough.
There you go. There you go. Well, you know what? Thank you so much. Annie Potts was here. Having you here is great.
Thanks, Tim. You're so
Over
welcome.
the top. Don't forget to watch Tim Curry Tuesday nights at 8 and on ABC at 8:30 p.m. Yes.
All right, trick-or-treating is not just for kids.